I'll make an apology in advance. If you hear some intermittent going on, that is my washing machine spin drying my clothes. What can I tell you? Life. Run titles. Greetings one and all, this is Lloyd Brown and welcome social media family to Lloyd Brown Music. I know it has been a hot minute. In fact, I think it was the 3rd of October since I've been fluent in any content creating, whether it be my YouTube or by my Facebook content. So I apologize for that. Well, no, I'm not going to apologize for that, because the reason being is because I've been working, I've been making music, which is my day job, which is what I normally do. And I have been making a lot of music, and that will be explained further down the line in the video. But before I even go any further, I just want to hail up everybody. I want to hail everyone and say, yeah, all right, wagwan, everything's good. Hope everyone is well, hope everyone is blessed, hope everyone is safe. Because boy, it beats the alternative right about now. So hope everyone is good, and coupled with huge thanks for your support throughout the 20 months that things have been inactive for me in terms of performing live, which is basically the ultimate thing you want to do after you've written songs and written music and performed on those tracks, for them to be released and for people to enjoy it in the flesh, as it were, after listening to them for a certain period of time. That is basically the process of our making music and it being available for the masses. But obviously with the whole COVID situation, it hasn't really been that fluid in terms of live performances. Now, you know, I can't speak for anybody else, but for me, it is vitally important that the safety of myself and the 11 people that I employ as part of the Rhythm Works band stands paramount in any of my ventures as a musician. So with that being said, nothing could really go on from the Lloyd Brown and the Rhythm Works band circles. Anyway, with that being said, we've basically moved on from there and we are fast forwarding into today, which is 2nd of December. I don't even know the date today, but I'm just going to give you an update of what's been happening, what is going to happen, and what will be happening in the future. And I've kind of split it into 3 sections. Number 1 is musical updates. Number 2 is social updates. And number 3 is future updates. All right, so starting with musical updates. Now, you're probably aware that there is a teaser doing the rounds, basically teasing a trilogy of albums that I'm going to be releasing in 2022. Now, I've got to give you a little bit of a backstory as to how that came about. Now, for those who know me, knows that I release albums every year. For some people, that's highly unusual, but for me, it's regular. It keeps me sane, keeps me creative, keeps my backside in my yard. So I release albums every year. Now, in producing the solo album that I had scheduled for release in 2022, I neglected to realize and subsequently realized that in 2022, that year will actually mark 40 years I've been in the music industry. 40 years of being a professional in the music industry. And when I say being a professional, I mean actually getting paid to do what I do. Now, you know, the question of pay can basically be debated all day, all year long. But I started getting paid for my work as a musician and as a vocalist from 1982. So it is, and it will be, Father William, the 40th anniversary of me being in the music business. And I thought, you know what? It needs celebrating regardless, no matter what the status is right now with the whole COVID situation. It needs to be celebrated. And what better way to do that than for me to actually release a trilogy of albums? I know I know, no pressure there, like, you know what I'm saying? But I thought, you know what? Do something that will basically give the fans back the love that I have for the music that I basically make, if that makes any kind of sense. The solo album and the other project that I basically had working on mid 2021 is actually being pushed back to the latter half of 2022. With the music works going on right about now, you are going to be getting a trilogy of albums marking my 40 years in the business, spread across the whole of 2022. That's not even counting the other albums that I've got ready, post-production, ready to drop as well. So you're getting a lot of music for 2022. And I've made it a year-long celebration because there's other things that are basically not so much in the pipeline, but they're ready to go. You know, they're ready to be green-lighted and presented to you all right, which I won't really mention too much at this stage. There's a lot more to coincide with the year-long celebrations that I've more or less initialized for myself, all right? So there's a lot basically going on. And that is pretty much the musical updates. Having said that, I want to take the opportunity in just thanking everyone that has supported not only myself, but supported the other artists that I've worked with and produced, just supported the whole Rhythm Works production team in bringing the music to you. Whether you buy the product, whether you basically stream the product, whether you watch my YouTube videos, whatever, however you basically do it, you all contribute in some kind of way. And I'm grateful and I'm thankful to you all for that. Now, I'm letting you know from now is that, you know, whatever comes back to Rhythm Works, it doesn't fund my lifestyle. I tell you that for free. You know what I mean? It does not fund my lifestyle. It just expands the business of my music in terms of the studio and the equipment that I basically utilize in making the music and the media and medium that I use to bring it to you. You are all a part of that. I want to thank you all for being supportive in that fashion. All right. So that is the musical update that I've got for you at this moment in time. All right. So next up, we have got social updates in relation to my social, which is at the moment YouTube and Facebook. My Twitter has been hacked. My Instagram has been semi-hacked. So I'm not even going to basically go back to those and try and fix anything because it's kind of made me feel untrusting of the platform simply because of the fact that I don't really have control over that. And as much as I would like to just basically just start up another Twitter channel, start up another Instagram channel, you know, there will always be something in the back of my head thinking, is this crapola going to start again where it's going to be hacked again? You know what I mean? And I don't think I'm going to be too happy trying to build up my channel again, only for that to happen. I mean, the same thing could be said for my Facebook and my YouTube. But the thing with Facebook is that I've had like a, what do you call it? Two-step authentication, and also my YouTube, which is owned by Google, right? Which is going to make sure that my shizzle is correct. So in terms of those two platforms, they will still basically be functioning as normal. But there are changes that are going to be made come 2022, which I will notify you of in future episodes. All right. But in terms of YouTube, I will basically be continuing my series of music production videos, whether it be Weekend Producer and my plugin of the week videos. And having said that, I want to thank all the companies that have reached out to me and has sent me plugins for me to review on my channel. It's been a hot minute, but like I said, the reason being why I've been somewhat infrequent in my content outlay is simply because of the projects that I've undertaken within the last year, much less the last 20 months. All right. So they will definitely be coming back and I will be featuring quite a few plugin reviews. I'm also going to be featuring some hardware reviews as well, because Black Friday gone, I invested in some hardware for my mobile studio setup. So I want to basically show you, you know, what I've got for my mobile studio setup, and as well as the stuff that I've basically bought for my main studio as well. All right, so that's pretty much that. Now, what else have we got left? Right, so basically future updates. And as far as my future updates go, it's gonna be met with a tinge of sadness, I think. Bittersweetness, I think, because it's time for change. It's time for change in my progression as a musician, in my progression as an artist, in my progression as a vocalist. You know, it is time for change. I've been trying to champion change at its very core in terms of how I make my music, how I compose my music, not having to rely on licking over rhythms and doing any cover versions and things like that, because for me it's not necessary for me to be doing that, because as far as I'm concerned, you know, I've gone past that. But I do understand and overstand for people who need to bring familiarity to what they're doing in bringing a familiar tune or a familiar song or a familiar rhythm to people. But I really think right about now that if you are talented enough, people's gonna embrace you regardless. You know, you could be singing the ingredients of the side of a packet of cornflakes. If it's melodic and it gets to you right here, then yeah, of course, you know what I'm saying? You know, but anyway, I'm kind of digressing. So the future is gonna be a little bit bittersweet because I'm gonna be saying goodbye to certain elements of my career. And I'm going to be opening new doors into my career. Because the one thing that that has been consistent has been the rate of loss within our community, fraternity, group, cooperative of musicians and producers that we've lost, not only from a domestic standpoint in the UK, but worldwide as well. And just the implications of their legacy, how steadfast we must hold on to those things, you know? Now I'm kind of going off into a tangent, but for me right about now, the tools that those people had back in the day with no internet, no social media, you know, none of that stuff, and their legacy of music and work and technique as producers and engineers still holds up today in 2021. And it's something that I personally think that I need to hold on to as a beneficiary of that, and hopefully pass on to another generation. That's why for me, legacy is important. For me, it's not about profile. It's not about, you know, having a number one tune. It's not about getting as much forward on the radio. It's not about getting power play. It's none of that outward superficial stuff. Because if it was about that, I'd be dead for hungry and I would have probably given up this thing a long time ago. So you know it's not about that for me. But changes will be made come 2022. Because looking back on 40 years of my career, in my career, and looking at where things are at now and being able to still continue the craft that I'm so happy to be in deserves the change as well. So a lot of changes are going to basically be made. Some tangible, some technical, some even social. But those changes has to be made because it's necessary for me. And while I have the strength and the faculties and the health that I do have, I don't want to be spending any more time wasted at all. My thing is just to keep moving and moving ahead. And it's a case where in that situation, it is absolutely binary for me. It's either you check for what I do or you don't check for what I do. It's as simple as that. I know it seems ambiguous when I'm talking about the changes and not being specific as to the changes that I need to make, but I don't really think I need to. Because I had a conversation with a sister a few months ago, and this was about the Untitled album. And I was actually telling her, you know, what the Untitled album is about and blah, blah, blah. And the reasoning behind me not making a reggae album per se and blah, blah, blah. And anyway, she interrupted me and she said, Lloyd, if you have to sit down here, right, and explain to me about your creativity, then you don't have faith in yourself. And I thought to myself, she's right. Because there are people in this business, they don't have to say anything and they just do. And in certain respects, it's like, well, I don't say anything, I just basically do. But in not saying anything and just doing and not being in social media, people can think all sorts. They probably think the worst. And then that's why you get the phone call saying, Lloyd, you're all right, everything blessed, everything good, and blah, 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 blah. You know, like your life is supposed to be monitored by social media. You know what I mean? Anyway, that's a whole nother subject. But yeah, that's where I'm basically at the minute. So with the musical updates, whole heap of music you're going to get. In terms of my social updates, it's going to be more content in relation to my musical productions, plugins that I use, the hardware that I basically use, and just have it more or less ride in tandem with the productions that I'm working on with a view for them to be released. I think that's basically the most useful and honest and constructive way of featuring the plugins that I basically feature, review, and use. And future updates. Change. As David Bowie says, turn and face the strange. So I'm going to be making that about turn and facing uncharted territories, with you or without you. But the one thing that will never change will be the outpouring of music, the flow of music that's going to come from Lloyd Brown music. So with that, I'm going to close this video. If you found any of this useful or inspiring, you know what to do. Just smack the like button, subscribe, ding the ding ding on the notification bell, all that kind of stuff, so you can get the notification of any future content that I will upload to this channel. All right, so with that, I hope everyone is having a glorious day in the UK, worldwide. At the moment, it is freezing it cold. But you know what? I give thanks that I can actually feel something. You know what I mean? Anyway, I can hear myself waffling. So with that, I'm going to bid you guys adieu. And as always, you don't know the coup. People, please abstain from all kind of foolishness, all right? And until we link up on the next exciting installment of Lloyd Brown Music, people, stay blessed. I'm out of here. Maganski. Later, Rudies.